So are you a woodworker or maker always on the lookout for new products to bring to market? Or maybe you're just a beginner and you're looking for products and projects to build your skills and then make a little money in the process. If so, stick around because today we're going to take a look at 3 variations on a simple project. We're going to see a beginner level, we're going to see an intermediate level, and we're going to see an advanced level for those of you guys who stick around for my CNC and laser engraver related content. All that you'll need for this project is 1 board foot of wood, the wood of your choice. You'll need a few 1/4-inch dowels, possibly some handles if you want to go that route, and no specialty tools other than those that would be found in a typical maker or woodworker's workshop.
So this entire project only takes about 1 board foot of wood. It's going to be 24 inches long, but we're going to cut it to 6 inches wide. Now for this project, I'm just using a piece of maple, and I'll cut it down to slightly over 24 inches. Now you will notice a little bit of a cupping or a bow right there. Thankfully the bottom side is flat, so I'm just going to put the flat side down in my planer and then slowly make shallow passes to flatten that little hump. After a few passes to get the top side flat, I'll flip it over and get that cupped side to be flat as well. You may see some tutorials online that talk about using moisture or an iron to flatten out that wood. I've never had a lot of luck with that. From there, let's cut it down to size, which is going to be 6 inches. And let's go ahead and set up the location for all of our dowel holes. Now, in the first variation of this, I cut them to 1.5 inches, and I don't think that's enough. So I would recommend that you put them 2 inches apart. This is a taco tray, so you want to have enough room for those tacos to sit upright, but then for you to fill them up with all kinds of great meats and cheeses and veggies. From there, let's just move on to our drill press. I do recommend a drill press as opposed to a drill or driver because the drill press does allow you to get it at perfect 90 degrees. Yes, I know, I need a better drill press table. There, I'll just go to my bandsaw and cut the dowels down. Now, be careful with the dowels because they're advertised at 1/4 inch, but they are seldom exactly 1/4 inch. So you may need to sand them down. You may need to glue those dowels in place. That just depends on the dowel itself. For these, they were a tight enough fit that I was just able to hammer them in with a mallet. A couple of them were a little bit loose, so you will notice that I do have to pull out a little bit of glue to tighten those.
Hey, at this point, I do want to send a quick reminder to tell you if you like this type of content, don't forget to subscribe down below. Maybe leave a comment if you have any thoughts or suggestions on other ways to make this better.
From there, we're actually almost done with this simple version 1 of the project. I'm going to mark 3 inches so that I can place the handles on there. And these are just some simple drawer pulls that are typically used for dressers, but I thought they would make a good handle for this taco tray. And again, we want it to be exactly 3 inches apart, so make sure that you measure and you have them spaced evenly from the edges. Now, I would definitely make sure that you use a countersink bit so that those screws don't stick out on the bottom and scuff up your tabletop or countertop.
So there you have it, version 1. You can make it in half an hour with less than $5 worth of material, and that includes the handles and the dowels. But can we make it better with no extra special tools? Sure. Now, let's just incorporate a jigsaw, bandsaw, or scroll saw, depending on what you have in your shop.
Now, I'm not going to go back and show you how to do the whole thing again because it's a simple process. But in this second version, we're going to get rid of the handles and we're just going to cut off a handle ourselves, so it's kind of like a charcuterie board. For that, there's no right or wrong. You just draw it however you want to. I'm going to use a very dull bit on my Craftsman jigsaw, and that takes forever. Get better bits, folks. Once we have it cut out, I'll take it to the spindle sander and sand everything down and get rid of those rough edges. And then change it to a smaller insert to get into those tighter corners. Now I've decided to make this one more of a rustic style. It's not meant to be refined. It's meant to almost be like a country style board. So it's going to have some rough edges right there, almost as though it were scuffed up on purpose. If you don't like it this way, don't do it. But I figured it was worthwhile to give it a shot. And from there, once again, we're just going to hammer these dowels in. But these, you'll notice, are 2 inches apart. And as you'll notice, there are a couple, just as before, that are a little bit too loose. So I'll just put a little glue in there and let that set up, and we should be in good shape. And here is version 2.
So now there's version 2. But for those of you guys who don't have a CNC or a laser engraver or a laser cutter, don't take off just yet, because you might be interested to see how these types of things are done and see how these little bitty upgrades can improve both your efficiency, your profitability, and your ability to sell more, because you're giving people things that are customizable. So let's jump into version 3.0 using my Onefinity CNC, my Pwn CNC spindle, and my X-Tool laser engraver.
So let's jump right in. Now, word of wisdom here. You know that a bit is ready to be trashed when smoke starts blowing off of your project. See, this bit's had it. It's ready for the trash. Now we're still going to need our 10 dowel holes that are going to be slightly over 1/4 of an inch, but I'm going to offset these by 1 inch so they would actually sit diagonally. Just a little bit different of a design idea. Now let's make a switch over to our 3/4 inch bowl bit, and I'm just going to put a 1/8 of an inch pocket where each of the ramekins will sit. Now the ramekins I'm using are 2.75 inches, but you can customize this for whatever size you like. And from there, this is important. This particular project requires me to flip it over and use both sides, use my CNC on both sides. So before I flip it over, I'm going to screw down basically some cauls so that I can flip it and put my workpiece in the exact same spot, at least the exact same X and Y position, because I need for the pockets on the bottom side to match up with what I did on the top side. I'm just using some CA glue and tape, but you can use whatever method you want. Now, this is also important. I want to remove that piece right there, specifically the screws, because if I were to leave that in there, the way I've designed it, the bowl bit is going to come off of the edge slightly, and I don't want to take a chance on hitting those screws, as you see right here. Now I cut this to 5/8 of an inch, but I really think that's probably a little too deep. In hindsight, from now on, I'll do it at 1/2 of an inch. From there, I'm going to move over to my X-Tool D1, and I'm going to engrave it. This particular board is for one of the football coaches at my high school, who was actually the one who first showed me this project. So I thought it'd be nice to make one for him. And my high school recently completed 4 state championships in a row, so I know he would like this, so there you go. And now we are finished.
Now, how much would these actually sell for? In terms of material, you're talking about less than $5 of material, even using something like maple or oak. The dowels cost pennies, and the handles don't cost much either. Also, this one took me less than 1/2 hour to create, and that includes the time it took to prep it. So I would sell this one for $20 to $25. For version number 2, probably about the same amount, maybe 25 to 30, depending on the market. Took a little bit longer to cut the handle out, but not a lot of extra time. Now, the one made with the CNC and personalized, I'm sure you could go much more expensive. I actually saw this one listed at $55 at a local distillery, but that seems like it might be a little bit much for me. I would sell these for $40 to $45, considering they are much more high-end, and you can add personalization to them for very little cost at all. In addition, for those of you guys who would like to download and create this project on your own, those files will be available to you down in the description. Hey, thanks for sticking around to the end. I do appreciate that. And before you leave, make sure you click on this video right here, which is another easy scrap project that you can create in your workshop with no advanced tools, and you might even be able to make a little bit of money on it as well.